Okay. Hi, everybody. If your in science is weird and the thing that you like the most is just coming to class and then after class, not continuing to come to class, that's perfectly fine. Happy to have you. However, if when you come to class you find out the answer to the riddle and then afterwards you're like, geez, I really wish I understood that more, understood that more clearly. Geez, I really wish that I had some sort of dependable way to become this giant human brain myself inside of my brain. I think I have something for you. Okay, so if you have been part of Science is Weird before, you might be familiar with the fact that we have this black holes and weird deep dives and bloop. Right. I'll hit this deep dive that we send out after every lesson. You get this in your inbox, your parents do. You can send it to you if you're the kid directly too. All right, the one for the first gravity lesson the first black holes lesson, which is about gravity, among other things. Looks like this. There are videos from YouTube that I've personally chosen. There's a bunch of trivia. There is, I like this trivia. I did a good job with this. Oops, I worked hard at this. I spent a whole morning making it. I had these labs where you kind of practice sort of sensing these things, seeing these things. Book section, this situation was Universe Sandbox. The Cipher, I'm really happy with this cipher. Look for more and more challenging ones as we go on. But then I talk about this memory card thing. Here's the tragic story. When you learn something, your brain immediately begins to unlearn it. This was the discovery of the first pioneering German psychologist, Hermann Ebbinghaus. If you speak German, I don't. And I'm just making fun of your pronunciations because I think they're so cool. English pronunciations are boring. Hermann Ebbinghaus in 1885 wrote this book titled something like On Memory, and it was amazing. And he asked the question, when you learn something, how long do you remember it for, right? So you might imagine that as time starts, your memory of something is really darn good. And then as time goes on, it gets really bad. Oops, well, it's kind of big. I'll take it. Right? And in fact, that's true. The interesting thing is what happens between here and here, right? Does it go as a straight line? Does it go this kind of this wibble wobble down here? Does it go like this? Does it go like this? If I haven't asked you this question before, feel free to just kind of kick that around your head right now. What is the shape that the forgetting takes? I'll give you 3 seconds. I forgot that I'm out of coffee. This was just grounds. That was disgusting. What he found out proved this, right? Using himself as a human guinea pig. It's that the forgetting is so, oops, I missed it, that's fine. The forgetting that happens is so flipping fast. It's like your brain wants to begin to forget everything that you've learned. This means that your long-term memory is essentially a bucket. There's a hole in the bucket. Everything that you learn starts flowing out. This sucks. So it turns out that when you go to college or you go to graduate school and you actually begin to develop actual expertise on something, mastery about something, you will learn that you are constantly fighting this war of learning a bunch of things and then forgetting these things and learning the things again and then forgetting them again. And the way that people actually get to be experts in something is by over learning these things, learning them from every which direction. It takes a really long time. It's really hard. What if there was another way to beat this forgetting curve, is what he called it. I tend to think of it as the forgetting monster. Well, in 1885, in this book that Ebbinghaus wrote, he also figured out the hack for this. And what this hack is called is the spacing effect, or spaced repetition. You know what? Let's make this red, because that just somehow seems conceptually right for this, right? It's a bad sort of thing for this. Here is what he found. If you learn something and then let your brain start to forget it, and then after a very short period of time, relearn it. Let's arbitrarily call it right here. I have no idea what kind of time this refers to in here, right? But arbitrarily, yeah, at this point, really quickly afterwards, relearn it. Maybe it's a day. Well, you have to work to kind of get your memory. I should have drawn this from the bottom, right? So like from, let me actually do another layer because I think this will look cool. So let's say that you're like right here and then you need to work and like you learn that thing again. Now you're reviewing it, right? But when you review it, you actually do have to sort of do a little bit of effort to recall that thing. You review it, you relearn it, and then unfortunately, you start to forget it again. That makes sense, right? It'd be really weird if you then just remembered it perfectly for the rest of your life. That would be bizarre. But when you forget it, the curve that is drawn is a shallower curve. You remember it for longer. Look at like the space underneath here as opposed to the space that was underneath here, right? A heck of a lot longer. So you're like, okay, that's good. So if I learn it twice and wait for a little bit after the first time learning it, then I'll remember it for longer. But that doesn't really help me in the long term. Oh, but it does if you then go the extra step. And I'm going to actually just choose a somewhat arbitrary point. I think that when he did research on this, I think what he found was the 80% likelihood. If you say that you studied at the point when you're only 80% likely to get it right. Maybe it's 90, I forget actually at this point. But you wait till then to review it. Again, you have to do some work to get it back in your head. You do that work, and then when you begin to forget it, you forget it a heck of a lot more slowly than you would have even the second time. Well, the beautiful thing is, you can imagine where this is going, right? The beautiful thing is you can do this as many times as you'd like. What's interesting is that if you don't wait that extra space, if you don't wait that extra time between here, if I was just going to like learn it again right here, then the curve that would be drawn was almost exactly the same curve as was drawn before. This boost only happens when you wait the right amount of time. So you wait here, and then the curve that's drawn is a really shallow, really long curve. If you space it right, you can remember something for a really long time. And now you're thinking, right, no, so this is the happy thing that Ebbinghaus had figured out. So you're wondering perhaps right now, well, yeah, but what is that proper spacing? Okay, so sometimes when I talk about this with people, what I say, and this is a lie, is that first you want to wait 1 day, and then you want to wait 2 days, and then you want to wait, can you guess it? Can you guess it? It's not 3. You want to wait 4 days, and then you want to wait, and you can just say, like 1 week, then 2 weeks, then I actually wanted to. Could I just move all this stuff over? I suddenly realized that I want my own sort of spacing effect. Am I right? Going on here. 2 weeks, and then you want 1 month, and then you want 2 months, and then you want 4 months, and then you want, what comes next? I know math. 8 months, and then you want 1.5 years, and then you want, again, it can go on from that, right? You're like, oh gosh, that's a lot of reviews to do. First of all, no, it's not. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I just count those right? So 10 reviews. How long does it take to do any one of those reviews? A couple seconds. So we're talking maybe 10 seconds per review, depending on the fact that you're relearning, trying to keep in your memory. Times 10, that's 100 minutes. So that's about, I think it's just 100 minutes, 100 seconds. So that's about 1.5 minutes worth of time spread over approximately 3 years. And now you are likely to remember this for the entirety of this next 1.5 years, and as well as everything that's coming up here, which is also about 1.5 years approximately. And you're like, oh, geez, but that's not really worth it. Like, when am I going to use this fact in the next 3 years? Maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't. Yeah. But here's the beautiful thing. The trend continues. After 1.5 years, it's 3 years. Then it's 6 years. Then it's 12 years. Then it's, I can do math. No, really I can. Then it's 24 years. Then it's 48 years. And then you're probably dead. Each of these also just takes about 10 seconds. Not very long. And so for only, what is this? We had 10 before, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. For 15, right? 15 reviews on anything that you learn, you can have this thing remembered, I'm not going to say perfectly, almost perfectly though, for literally the rest of your life until you're dead. Everything that you're learning right now that's just going to get flushed down the toilet of your long-term memory. That's a good band name? I'm not sure. For an extra like 2 minutes stretched throughout the rest of your life, you can keep all of it learned. It's amazing. Okay. Voice broke. If I had tea right now, I'd drink it. I do not have any tea or coffee. or anything. So you're wondering right now, yeah, Brandon, but how do I do this? Glad that you asked. Ebbinghaus wrote this in 1885, and ever since then, psychologists have said, "Why is no one using this? Why is no one using this? We know that this works." This has actually been one of the most overproven things in all of the social sciences. Even inside of experimental psychology, it has been like this overproven. We've proven that things like this actually happen on things like sea slugs and mice, right? This is not just a human thing. This is a deep brain thing. Brains are built to need this sort of repetition because in the ancestral environment that we were in when we were early hominids or sea slugs or whatever, right? Bad things are things that you encounter all the flipping time. Okay, so how do you actually do it? For a long time, people talked about this, but there's no way to actually do it until somebody invented the computer. Actually, people were using these things called Lightner boxes. This is a super geeky, really wonderful thing. There was a way of kind of doing it just with physical flashcards. But when people invented computers, one of the first things they did in the 70s was to say, oh, we can just automate this right now. Because it turns out that I'm actually kind of lying to you about this exact schedule. If you want to look up forgetting curves, the actual hypothesized here, this is the actual formula that you need to compute in order to figure out exactly when to study these things. The doubling is just a really hazy estimate for that. Now I'll just say, when people invented computers, they came up with programs to do this. There is a program now called Anki. I always mispronounce it as Anki, but you should say Anki because you should be better than me. That shows you exactly how to do this. And I have made flashcards, these memory cards for you, and we'll be making them for every flipping lesson this year, so you don't have to make these things. You can just go in and use these things. I want to show you how to actually get to those. Okay, so here's what I should do. I should go like this. It always does that. And then I should go woo, 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 woo. I can do this all day long. All right, so you want to go to the internet and you want to look up Anki, A-N-K-I. You will see the apps.ankiweb, ankiweb.net, and you should click on that. You should click on that, not like just say it. The top, it says download. You should download it. It'll bring you down. It'll kind of sense what operating system that you're on. If you're on Mac, click the Mac one. If you're in Windows, click the Windows one. If you're in Linux, oh, you are so cool. For iPhone, there is a specific app that costs, get ready for it, an obscene amount of money for an app. It's $25. It's a good app. I use it because I want to support the guy in New Zealand who makes this app and kind of runs this entire thing. So that's why I do it. You do not have to do that. You can actually use the free version of AnkiWeb as long as you have an account, but then you actually first need to get a regular computer account. So just ignore this for right now. I'm going to go to Mac. I'm going to, read this and say, okay, which of these do I want to use? This is really confusing. I don't know. Just click one of them. You'll download it, or for Windows or whatever. And then you will go, and in the email that I sent out, I will have, look at this. Ooh, a package of Anki cards. Once you've installed the program, double click on this little package. It will automatically, there we go. It'll automatically open up Anki. I have my actual profile with a bunch of decks in it right here. But I'm going to use this one right now that it's totally blank. You get all this, notes found in file, notes added from file, blah, 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 blah. You're like, why am I looking at this? I don't know. I'm sorry. It's dumb. But it's a good sign. Then you can see the science is weird sort of thing right here. Go ahead and click on this. And it says study now. And all you will see is these cards that I have made for you. Tiny bits of reality. There are these things we call atoms. Are they literally uncuttable? Alas, no. They're made up of smaller, weirder. Okay, now what you need to do with this it's called a cloze, C-L-O-Z-E, short for closure. Psychologists invented this word. It's not a great word. You need to figure out or guess what word might be in that blank. They're made up of smaller, weirder atoms. They're made of smaller, weirder unicorns, pieces of 8, pirate first blooms. I don't know anything, right? So I will click the space bar, or maybe if I move my mouse down, hit show answer. Pieces. Oh, of course. It's so simple. Okay. So then I have this choice of, do I hit the first button here? Again, the final button here, easy, hard, good, one of these four, right? This is basically the question, how easy or hard was this? Well, it wasn't just hard. When I just did this a moment ago, I don't know if you were there and paying attention, but I missed that entirely. So I just hit the again button. That will come up in the next minute, less than the next minute. Next one here, 20 bits of reality, is an atom a ball, kinda. That's not a terrible metaphor, but atoms are also mostly blank and sticky and made up of smaller pieces. I give a kind of cute little thing at the end of here because, I want you to be happy. Atoms are also mostly something. You know what? I don't know. Weird. Nope, hollow. Okay, great. So I failed at that one too. And I made these. Democritus said the whole universe is just tiny balls walking around. Was he right? It's more blanketed than that, but actually that's not a terrible model. I bet it's complicated. It's complicated. Okay, so I wasn't positive on that, so I'm not going to click easy. I'm going to set good for this, the third one on there. Is a black hole made from atoms? Okay, I'm looking down below here. Is a black hole made of atoms? Okay, so I'm guessing that there's a difference here. Yes. Do I really understand that? Yeah, I do. It's space. Yes, great. That was pretty easy for me. Why does Saturn go around the sun? It's falling. I know this one. That's easy for me. We often say that Newton discovered gravity. That's dumb. Everybody knows about gravity. What did Newton truly discover? That everything is blinking toward everything else. Blinking holds the sun together. Blinking holds the earth together. Blinking holds us on the ground. And blinking holds the planets close to the sun. The bottom's a funny thing. Again, I like that. Not really funny. More, they're not all funny. Some of them make you think. The word is falling for this. Yes, they are all falling. That's great. Easy peasy. Like that. So you can see, right, I can go through this and, oh, look. This is that card that I had first, and I didn't know what the answer was. I thought it was unicorns. Pieces. Great, it's pieces. Easy. Wonderful. And do you see how, hollow? Do you see how at the bottom here, it says, if I say easy, 4D. That does not stand for the fourth dimension for once in our lives. That stands for 4 days. I will see that in 4 days from now. You keep doing this. You keep doing this and what? And then every day it will give you some new cards. And it will give you the cards that it is your time to review. As you do, the next time that I see that last card, here, I'll hit undo. The next time that I see this card, it will not say 4 days. It will probably say something like 8 days or something like that, whatever the algorithm says that it should. This is so cool. You'll do these, you'll see them a lot at first, and then as you continue to get them right, you'll see them less and less and less and less until you just win life. One thing that I'm kind of unhappy about is that when this started a few minutes ago, it said, new 20. I thought that when I sent this out, in fact, I know I did, I said that it should only be 10 new cards a day. Now, maybe that's the wrong number. Maybe 20 is actually a better number. I don't know. I'm kind of new with doing this, not myself, but doing this with you all. So I'm actually going to hit options on this. Instead of 20 new cards a day, I'm going to go doop, 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 doop. And I'm going to say, oh, somehow that got stuck on there. That's weird. What the heck is happening? How did that even happen? That's weird. Okay, great. So anyway, 10 cards a day. I like that better. So now you can see I only have 4 more cards to do, 4 new cards to do, and one of them that I said, oh, I didn't know this. That's why it's red like this. This is all you need to do. 10 new cards a day for 5. I'll try to keep them to 50 cards per week. Yes, and that means that every day for 5 days a week, keep the weekends off or whatever, you can just spend a few minutes doing these new ones. Now, a lot of these come directly from the deep dive. They are questions exactly from that. Some of them are even better questions because, I make the deep dive, I teach the class a couple more times, and then I make these cards. So these cards are like the clearest, most beautiful expressions of the most beautiful ideas that we hit for this. If you want, you can sync this between different accounts, between different devices. I actually highly highly recommend that because it means it's very difficult for you to ever lose your progress in this. If you click on the sync button, it will say, hey, you actually need an account for this because how else would you even possibly do that? It's free. I recommend it. I've used this for like 15 or something years, and I have never had any problems or heard about in the community any problems of information being at risk for this or whatever. So you should click the sign up button. You'll go to here and you can type in an email address and your password and all of that. And then it's actually pretty easy to do that. What else? I don't know. This is not just something, part of the reason that I'm doing this, that I'm so excited to get y'all on Anki. Remember, this is totally non-obligatory. You are not obliged, you're not forced to use Anki this year. This is just if you want to remember everything so you can have all of the ideas sort of combined together in your brain and make new idea babies, and you can become ridiculously clever and begin to build the operating system, the true operating system that will, when you're older, allow you to actually see things that, the scientists today really struggle to see. This is what science does, right? It's always progressing forward, and it's becoming harder and harder for science to progress forward because we're getting into harder and harder things. In order to really advance science, we need to change the way that science education works. And doing this, Anki in specific, and science is weird in general, is my attempt to actually push forward that curve. What I'm going to say, but once you start to use all of this, you can then make your own cards for stuff. You can make a basic card where you just type in a question, question mark, question mark, question mark, and then an answer on the back of that. Like that. You can do a bunch of different things. Yeah, I don't care to lose that. I don't care to keep that. You can do a bunch of different things. I will probably be showing you how to add in your own cards and different types of cards and sort of my recommendations for how to make really great cards in the future. A few weeks, a few months, not really sure. Using this, you can learn foreign languages and keep them learned. Using this, you can learn, well, here, let me even show you. Switch profile. Here's my actual one. I have a whole bunch of things in here. Here's my Science is Weird one. I'm actually not going to click on any of my actual cards because, I put personal things in there. This is kind of like looking through a person's journal, but what I will show you is my statistics. I want to go for the entire collection. So I have in mine, money one is down here. I have something like 14,000 different cards that I've been making over something like the past 15 years. Of those 14,000, I have 3,000 that are considered new, and I have 10,000 that are considered mature. I forget their definition of mature. It's something like cards that, like, when I click again, it's like more than 6 months or something like that until I see them again, which is to say things that I've actually memorized. I have memorized something like 10,000 things. This honestly is like 1/3 or 1/4 of how I am clever. It's just the fact that whenever I learn something cool now, I go to Anki and I throw it as quickly as I can in Anki. And then every morning when I wake up, I spend a couple of minutes kind of greeting the day, freshening up my mind by playing with Anki and going through like the Anki deck that I say. This is a really big number in here. The due are 55 for this one because I actually fell behind because it was the first week of teaching class and everything was busy. This is fine. That happens at some points. Do that all day. I think that's it. Go ahead. We're curious about any of this. Not curious. If you're trying to do this, if you're curious, do this. Play with this. Experience this. Even if you hate it, that's fine. Try it. The odds are somewhat strong that this could change your life as much as it's changed mine. If you're trying to do this though and you're having any problems, shoot me an email. Go to the website and go to the Write Us or whatever. Contact me. I want to make this as easy as possible for you. All right. Thank you very much, and good luck with trying this thing that might change your life. Whew. Toodles.